You are listening to the Star Coach Podcast with Meg Rentschler, Episode 7.
Welcome to Star Coaches, the show for professional coaches that brings you coaching strategies, tools, and resources. Whatever your focus or niche, take a front seat weekly as industry leaders, decision makers, and innovators share their wisdom and expertise on the ins and outs of successful coaching. Now join your host, Meg Rentschler, as she connects you with your star coaching potential.
Hello and welcome to the Star Coach Show. This is your host, Meg Rentschler. So glad to have you with us. If this is your first time to the show, welcome. I hope you enjoy the strategies, tools, and resources that the show offers for professional coaches. Be sure to go back and listen to some of the shows that have preceded this show and get a fullness of what is offered. If you're an ongoing listener, welcome back, and thanks for being part of the show. I hope that you have gotten tools and strategies that you're able to apply to your practice as a coach as well. Right off the bat, I want to apologize that my voice is a bit froggy. I have been struggling with a really nasty cold for the past maybe 10 days. And have been working on trying to get this introduction done so that we could get this show produced, and was actually beginning to worry that that wasn't going to happen. So we're moving forward. The cough has slowed down to a place that I'm actually able to speak for more than 2 seconds without coughing. So apologize for the frog, but it's well worth it for being able to introduce our great guest on today's show. I invited Shari Barth to share her expertise and strategy in working with companies and getting our word out there of what we do as professional coaches. Shari is the founder and president of Optimal Training Solutions, which is a service offered to organizations that provides them training, consulting, coaching, keynote speakers, project management for what they need to be productive in companies. Shari works with about 950 keynote speakers, coaches, consultants, different talent to bring services to companies that are needing different kinds of services. She brokers solutions for those companies and has been doing this for well over 10 years. Shari has over 20 years experience in working with talent management and working in companies to help them make their people extend into their own greatness. It seemed important that Shari be able to share her expertise with each of you in what are the benefits of kind of writing down what your skills are, what you're able to bring, just the concepts of writing out a proposal and what that looks like and what that does for your value proposition. Shari's also able to share with us different trends of coaching and different pricing that stretches across the nation because her network is across the United States. So she has a great deal of insight and expertise to share with us. We also both happen to be alumni from the University of Michigan, so that's always fun to meet somebody who went to the same school that you did. I am really excited to share what Shari has to enlighten all of us. And so let's go ahead and go to our interview with Shari Barth.
Great to be here. Well, I really appreciate your time. I know that you provide such a valuable resource. I've had the honor of working with you with some of your clients. I'm wondering if you could tell us a little about your background and how your brokering service began.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, let's see. I grew up in New Jersey, so I'm originally from the Northeast, but I've been in Texas for a long time now, and I make sure to say y'all a lot so that I fit in. I've been here over 20 years, As you know, I went to school at the University of Michigan and studied organizational behavior and communication. So I guess I could say I've always been in the talent development field. When I graduated, I went to work with Anderson Consulting in their Dallas office as a change management consultant. And as you can imagine, whenever you hear change management, you think, oh, you must stay very busy because everyone hates dealing with change. And we sure did. Did a lot of work, stayed in town some and traveled some working for Anderson Consulting. Of course, now it's Accenture. And while I was there, I got put on the JCPenney account. So JCPenney was one of my clients. And as I was working on the JCPenney account, I looked at the culture at JCPenney's versus the culture where I was, and I decided I wanted to jump ship. And consulting firms love when you jump ship because then they think they have an insider. Whether they do or not, they're very happy. Go work for the client. We'll sell more work there. So in the mid-'90s, I went to work for JCPenney as a training and organizational development manager, and was a great job. Got certified in many, many different workshops, did a lot of coaching, did a lot of consulting. The operations folks involved us on the front end instead of having training as an afterthought. It was really nice. Great job. And while I was there, I started having kids. I have 2 girls at home now, but I wanted a little more flexibility. So in 2001, I actually left JCPenney and went out on my own and started my own business. And I originally started out purely doing training delivery, going into an organization, teaching a workshop, hopefully hitting a home run and coming out.
I bet you hit lots of home runs.
I hope so. But I've always been well networked, and so clients were often asking me after I would teach a workshop what else I could help them with. They had this laundry list of needs, and they needed resources, and they wanted people they could trust, and they obviously knew me. So I realized, and it took a while to sink in, but I realized that clients needed a go-to person to help source all of their talent development needs. In 2003, as a result of that, a couple of years into my business, about 10 years ago, I started what I call a brokering business. And it's a little different. I'm not a speakers bureau. I don't represent the talent as much as I represent whatever need the client is searching on. So now what I do for clients all over the country is find them the right resource in the right city at the right price point. And basically, one of my clients calls me her corporate matchmaker. So that's really what I do. I match resources to opportunities.
Yeah, and you do a very good job of that. When Shari has something that she thinks might be a match for her, that a particular talent might be a match, I'll get this email if I happen to be part of that and say, and I know it's going out to many different people within my geographic area, and these are the needs. Is this something that you might be interested in? So she gives you the opportunity to propose to her clients, and it's always a bit of a time thing, sort of like, okay, this client needs something now, and so you've got to be prepared and ready to kind of match the, if you really truly believe you can match those needs to respond to that. And Shari is a great in-between, taking care of her client and also taking care of the people that she works with. I always feel that you really care about both sides.
I really do. That's why I don't consider myself a speakers bureau where I just represent one side, or, I don't consider myself an agent where I just represent one side. I really am the middleman, and my goal is to make sure that both sides are happy and both sides want to do it again. And there's 4 basic areas that I broker. One of them would be training and facilitation. Another would be executive coaching, leadership coaching, anything related to coaching. The third area would be keynote speaking. And then the fourth area, I tend to lump it together and call it HR consulting, which could include any talent development consulting work, whether it's culture change work, instructional design, rewriting job descriptions, anything in the world of talent development. I don't do anything related to benefits or comp because I've never lived in those worlds. Anything on the talent development side. And there's no charge to the client for my services. It's a free service. I don't add on a fee or do anything like that. I basically make my money on the resource side. So we use a fee share because I'm doing the selling, the marketing, the proposal writing, the contract writing. I usually pay my resources before the client pays me. What I hope is that the resource can discount their fee because of that. And that way the client's not paying extra by going through a third party.
Excellent. So how do your clients find you?
I would say probably the biggest area is still word of mouth, which is a good thing. I think like many people in our field, I've never spent money or time marketing or advertising, and you're probably in the same boat. I don't necessarily think it would work even if someone did. Even if someone said, okay, I have this huge budget, I'm going to go market my services or advertise. I think in our world you want people you can trust, you want recommendations, you want that personal connection. So word of mouth really is the big way, and I think my favorite way is when clients tell other clients about me. So when one client tells another potential client about my services and they rush to pick up the phone, that's always a lot of fun. And that's been happening more and more lately, which is really a good thing.
Well, yeah, that speaks very highly of the services that you provide. It's not avoid that person, it's go find that person now.
Yeah, so I think part of it is years ago, whether it was in the coaching world or the training or speaking world, there were such big teams inside corporate America. I worked in a team where there were 12 of us trainers, and we all did soft skills training, and there were lots and lots of companies like that. Now, you're lucky if there's one person in a company doing that. Oftentimes, there's nobody. There's maybe an HR business partner or just a general HR person who calls up and says, I don't know anything about training, and I have to find a trainer, or I don't know anything about coaching, and I have to go find a coach. So I think part of why clients are telling other clients about it and why clients find this so appealing is nobody has time or money. If I'm a client person and someone asks me to go find a coach, I could spend hours and hours and hours, and by the end of the week, I still have 0 proposals in my hand. This way, they call, they talk to me for maybe 10 minutes. I do a quick needs assessment, and then I go off and hopefully do my magic. I have some clients that don't even call or talk to me. We do everything through email.
That's really neat. That also speaks to the way of the world right now, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Yes. So you have speakers and coaches, I can imagine, and trainers. I could see that our audience might be interested in all that. How do you find the people that you trust to put in your network?
Yeah, I do spend a lot of time networking, breakfasts, coffees, lunches. Unfortunately, my belly can't always afford it, but I do a lot of those. It's funny, I don't even drink coffee, but I go to at least 3 coffee meetings a week. My kids laugh at me when I say I'm going to a coffee meeting. They're like, but Mom, you don't even drink coffee. But I really like the one-on-one networking best. I find for me that works great. If it's a local resource, I like to sit down face-to-face, spend some time getting to know them. I prefer that personally to the big meetings where everyone's holding their glass of wine and their portfolio and shaking a million hands and getting business cards. With the resources on a national basis, I tend to do things over the phone, so at least get a chance to meet them, if not through Skype or FaceTime, at least over the phone so they get a feel for who they are. I also use sites like the ICF database. I love, whenever I'm, especially in a new city, because I do this all over the country, and most of my clients want coaches who are local to them. So I use the ICF database to see who's in a new city. I also occasionally use the National Speakers Association. Even if I'm looking for a coach, sometimes coaches also are speakers, so the NSA website and database is a great place to find talent as well. And, of course, I use word of mouth. Top
that's how
coaches.
Shari and I met, was through another coach who said, you two should probably meet one another, and I've been so grateful to her since then.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's about, if there's a coach I love or a person I love and have worked with before and hire and I enjoy partnering with them, they're always my first stop. If they don't fit the need, then I oftentimes ask them to suggest others that they know, trust, and respect.
Excellent. And that obviously has been successful for you as you're approaching 1,000 in your network. So you're doing a fine job with that.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes people say, how do you find the resources? I said, well, really, honestly, finding the clients is probably harder than finding the resources, as we all know, right?
Right. I'm sure people are thrilled to hear about you. So you've spent all these years linking coaches with clients. Have you noticed any different trends or motivations for seeking a coach? And then as you've talked about the fact that you do that nationally, I guess I'll layer a question for you here and say, in the different geographic areas, how does that impact the trends?
Oh, good question. Yeah. I think the win-win mentality is always going to be key. Whenever I'm hiring a coach, I want to make sure that they have that same win-win mentality. I want coaches who would rather work than sit on the couch, people who like doing what they do, coaches who are trustworthy, flexible, expert in their area, and they enjoy helping others. And I think that will never change. That's always going to be when you need a coach or any kind of resource, that's what you look for. But as far as what's changed over the years or what's different in different markets, I think coaching is definitely gaining in popularity. Every year I sell more and more coaching. Years ago, I think keynote speaking was the way to hit a mass audience. It was almost like, let's spray it to 200 people and hope it sticks.
Yeah.
That was the predominant. Then we almost went down the funnel to training, where we said, okay, let's take a smaller group, a subset. Maybe it's just 20 people, and let's put them in a class and see if it sticks. And now coaching for that one-on-one improvement really is becoming much more prevalent. And I think different cities do and use it more efficiently, effectively, or often. I would say the East Coast is probably the place, specifically the Northeast, where coaching is used most frequently. The West Coast probably second place. I think the Midwest seems to lag behind the two coasts in terms. In terms of hiring coaches and paying coaches. I think that it's not necessarily equal across the country. Even when I have a client that is the same company, just different cities throughout the country, I'm amazed at how the rates vary so much.
Interesting.
Yeah, it really is. Another trend that I see and strongly encourage is bundling the services in an all-inclusive format. I think, and I can speak specifically about the Dallas market, there's a lot of people in Dallas who want to give me their hourly rates, and this is what I charge per hour. And I really think the trend is moving towards, let's stop using an hourly rate and let's bundle everything into an all-inclusive format. Maybe it's a 6-month program with a 360, whether it's live, stakeholder interviews or a 360 online. But I think it's going to be really moving towards, full access to the coach, lots and lots of sessions. Here's the price. Here's what you get. Almost like when you go to an all-inclusive resort in Jamaica, it says, okay, here's the price and here are all the wonderful things you get.
Right.
So in my opinion, that's something that's coming more and more. And other cities may be, even more so than the market here in Texas, may be more advanced on that route. In Texas, I still struggle with so many coaches want to tell me their hourly rates. And I think it's moving towards a smarter way to sell and price coaching where you bundle all the services.
Well, and I couldn't agree more. I think that we leverage more of our talent when we're able to bundle. It creates more professionalism, I think, for coaching when you're selling an entire bundle, when you're saying this 6-month engagement is going to be X, Y, and Z, and this is what it's going to include, so it's not a situation of the client saying, oh, so you're X amount of dollars an hour. It's really, I will be available 24/7, and these are the kinds of things that I'm offering, and this is ultimately the price that this engagement creates this kind of value for you. It's a value proposition.
Absolutely. And I would say another trend is that coaching is now being seen much more positively than it was. I think in this day and age, and it's not completely there, but it's moving towards being seen as a perk or a privilege as opposed to a punishment or a negative. 5 years ago, that wasn't always the case, and I think every year it's just getting to be more and more the norm, that, if you have a coach, it's not a secret anymore. For a long time, I remember sending invoices to clients, and I couldn't even put the coachee's name on the invoice. We had to use initials, or we had to hide it, because in case somebody in accounts payable saw that invoice and
say,
knew that Bob
Fred
has
a coach.
Yeah, it was a bad thing. And now I think it's, something that everyone even wants. Sometimes that's something they negotiate in their annual meetings or their salary discussions to say, can I get a coach? Which is a very good thing.
It's a very good thing. I've got to tell you, I'm working with a company right now, and there's a set of us working with quite a few of the leadership team. But we just heard a story from the CEO that he walked into the hallway and he heard people excitedly talking about their disc debriefs. We had just gone through where everybody got debriefed on their disc, and he was walking down hallway saying, well, I do that because I'm a high I, and and it was not being hidden, or it was actually being embraced, and people were excited about it and talking about the different dimensions that they they bring to the job and how that can be worked together. So that was really heartwarming for me to hear that it's being so embraced and they're so excited about it versus, I've got to sit down with my coach. So.
Oh, yeah. I think that makes all the difference. Does the coachee want to do this, or is this a punishment, or is this something they have to do? If the coachee's not excited about it and not interested and isn't open to the idea of coaching, you really and truly in many situations are wasting your time and effort.
I couldn't agree more. Exactly. So you talked a little bit about some of the elements that you look for in the coaches that you work with, that drive and motivation and willingness to kind of think out of the box and get creative with what they offer. Anything else that you look for that indicate a successful coach to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think in general, when you think about the most successful coaches out there, the ones who have really been doing this a while and have figured out the formula for success, I think one of the things I see across the country is that the most successful coaches have found a way to balance their need to help the coachee with the need to run a successful business. Because a lot of times, people just want to help, and they end up giving away the store, or they want to run the business so tightly that they don't offer anything else on top of it. And I think in general, the coaches often, if they can find that fine line, where they can do what they need to, when they need to, and be comfortable and flexible and give what they need, then they really can succeed.
Yeah, and that just strikes me so often. Isn't it about balance?
Oh,
I mean, whether you gave a great example of finding that balance between business success and client success, and really realizing that without one, the other isn't going to be successful, period. So how do we find that balance, and how often it just comes down to balance in life, period.
Yeah. I think the coaches who have found a way to over-deliver without killing their profit margin or allowing their income to suffer, but make sure the coachee gets exactly what they need, that's the one who's really going to succeed. And, of course, the most successful coaches are also empathetic. They're great listeners. They allow their coachee to lead. But I think they also have to realize that they are in business. When I look at the other areas that I broker, trainers or HR consultants, I don't see as much giving away the store as I oftentimes do with coaching. Coaches just are such great people. They want to help. They want to go above and beyond. But I think especially the ones who work for their own businesses really have to balance that.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And there is something. I mean, it's kind of nice and heartwarming to hear that we, as a community of coaches, might want to give and give. Yeah. But the other side of that is what you give away and just give away. There's that line, once again, that balance between you give to receive, but the other side of that is when you just give, do people value what they don't have to invest in as well?
Good point.
So, for years I was a therapist and found that, interestingly, those clients that I took on pro bono because I really believed that they needed, or they might have been in a place of crisis, or ended up ultimately not across the board, because I never want to be all-inclusive in everything, but many times those that were given completely free services were more likely to no-show or come late or not come as invested in the service. There is something to be said, once again, about that balance between being willing to give when it's needed, but to a place of what also is the other person's investment in that.
Very good point. Yeah, and I'm constantly surprised. There are a lot of people who wear lots of different hats, but I think with coaching, you really do need to be able to wear that hat and to remember that coaching is not the same thing as mentoring or consulting. And I think a lot of people who say, well, maybe I'd like to be a coach, they don't realize that you can't just go in and tell people what to do. So I think it's a really unique skill set, too, and I think that comes into play in the balance as well.
What else, if anything, would you like people to know about you, what you do, or your experiences over the past years?
Oh, gosh. I wasn't ready for that one. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. I love to help people. I love to work with people. I'm always happy when people reach out, specifically on the coaching side. One of the things I've had so many coaches say that I've helped them to do is to package their materials or to raise their rates or to see the value they're offering, and I love to do that. I don't charge to do that. I'm happy to go have a cup of coffee with a coach or sit down with someone, review their proposal. I think being able to clearly articulate what you do on paper is a very, very important thing. When I send out my RFPs that you mentioned, where a client says, okay, here's what we need, here's what we want to look at, I do have some coaches who say, well, I've been doing this so long, I don't do proposals, or I don't like to write proposals, or I'm, way past that. And I don't know that you'd ever want to say anyone is way past it or that it's not a good thing. I think it helps both sides. It helps the organization understand what the coach does and what the coach offers, but it also helps the coach to be able to articulate exactly what they do. And so many times people have said, just going through the RFP process with me, whether they were the ones selected for the gig or not, really helped them become better at understanding what they do and how they package it and how they sell it. So I think it's a good experiment for people to go through, whether it's with me or on their own, just to figure out and put it to paper, okay, what am I offering and what are the benefits we're going to get here? So I always encourage people to think about doing that exercise.
Exactly. I think that when I work with new coaches through my mentoring program, one of the key messages is clarity, and what you're talking about is going through that exercise, getting really clear about what you offer, how you're going to help the client get where they need to get. One of my favorite sayings is, confused minds don't buy. So until you really create clarity for the person who's reaching out for help, it's unlikely that they're going to match with you.
I think you're right.
Well, Shari, thank you so much because you're just a wealth of information and a delightful person regardless. So I would ask if people want to learn more about your services and kind of who you are, whether it be training or coaching or speaking, how would they reach you?
Oh, goodness. Well, the easiest way is probably to call or drop me an email. I'm very responsive and love hearing from people. My office phone number, I'll give that to you if you'd like, is 972-517-0044. My website is Optimal Training Solutions, and my personal email address, that way you can always find me, and it's just a Verizon personal account. I don't work for Verizon. If I did, it'd be Verizon.com. This is just a Verizon.net account. It's Shari, Shari.Barth, B as in boy, ARTH, at Verizon.net.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for taking your time and your energy to share your expertise. Help us get a look into what Optimal Training Solutions provides and what you yourself are able to bring with your years of experience and expertise. Each and every week, I am so grateful and my heart just warms at the amount of information that our guests are willing to share to help us grow and learn, and they generously share of their expertise, and that was certainly the case with Shari Barth today. If you'd like to know more about Shari or Optimal Training Solutions or the show, visit starcoachshow.com, check out our resources, check out all of our shows, and be sure to enroll for the free book giveaway. We've had our first giveaway. We're on our second now. You just enter in the contact page, your name, your email, and giveaway in the comment section, and you'll be in the ongoing book giveaway. Also, let me know what's helpful to you. What do you find to be most valuable? When you share your feedback with me about certain guests, I share that information with them, and they're loving to hear that as well. So once again, thanks for joining. Take this information and run with it. And until next week, this is your host, Meg Rentschler, wishing you the very best for your coaching success.